Hey everyone, Ryan here, and today I am going to be grading all 3 LEGO Star Wars Ahsoka series sets based on their appearance in the Ahsoka show that just wrapped up on Disney+. This video is sponsored by Rakuten, so we'll talk more about them and how they can save you money on Ahsoka sets later in the video. But it's common knowledge at this point that with new media, LEGO Star Wars designs things without knowing the full picture of what's going on, be it the context of the scene, like we saw in the Mandalorian Season 3 Spider Tank set, where it's just missing a good chunk of what would be needed to make it the complete experience, or it could be something as inconsequential as the hair color on a character, like the Lego Kanan minifigure getting black hair in his original release of The Ghost. However, when the Rebels show came out, he had brown hair, so LEGO changed the set to have Kanan have brown hair. So there's some releases of the set with black hair, some releases of the set with brown hair. Pretty cool. The point is, LEGO, like myself, does care about the little details.
No detail is left unturned. Every little garment and weapon and accessory has to be perfect.
So today we are going to be nitpicking these sets apart to some degree.
It has to be perfect.
Now this isn't to say any of these Ahsoka sets are bad when I say they are inaccurate. It's just the facts here that they might be inaccurate in some way, shape, or form. I think that this Ahsoka wave of sets is one of the best new media waves for LEGO Star Wars that we have ever had. But it's still fun to grade these on their accuracy like we did with The Mandalorian Season 3. So we'll start with the smallest set, Ahsoka's T6 Jedi Shuttle. The minifigs on this set across the board are just about perfect. You have the proper accessories for all of them, including lightsabers and blasters and even a wrench where needed for Hugh Yang, because he does actually end up working on fixing the T6 shuttle within the show. Ahsoka includes her white lightsabers, although some people do point out that they don't give her the special hilts, so if you do want to take a % or 2 off for not having the hilts, that's absolutely right. And then for Sabine, it's cool to see both her helmet and the hair included so that you can go with either look. Now specifically with the helmet, it's almost perfect. There's just the blue stripes on top that should be purple. Just a simple thing that would have made this literally a perfect helmet in my eyes. And then on top of that, they include the blasters and the lightsaber so that you can have her Jedi version or more of her like Mando feel. Now Morok might be the most interesting character here because the external look of him is beautiful. Now where it really becomes a bit of a question is the head underneath. It's an all black head, but he does dissipate into a green mist when he gets killed in the show. And so I do feel like the head underneath, if you really want to strive for that extra bit of accuracy, should have been in a green color. And overall, I do think this minifig selection is just shy of perfect. It's definitely getting an A or A+ for minifigs. Now for the T6 shuttle, there's a couple important things off the bat. The overall shape is just about perfect. Like the wing and the cockpit and the engines, everything is shaped properly to what we see in the show. Now most people's biggest criticism with this set is that it can only fit one minifig in the cockpit, and obviously in the show you can fit more minifigs in the cockpit. I do agree. If you really want to be like, oh, it's inaccurate, it doesn't hold all the minifigs, yes. But that aside, with the cockpit, the actual cockpit windscreen piece actually does have a print that perfectly matches what we see in universe, which is great. And then the actual paint job on the T6 shuttle is something you can definitely call into question. The top side of the T6 has like all the perfect angles and shapes to it with the color in the right place, dark red and light gray. But if you flip the T6 shuttle over, it doesn't have any of that striping represented at all. So at that point, like, you're missing the entire second half of the set being any bit accurate at all, because it's just missing the whole red stripe on the bottom. So I think that's a pretty big downside to this set to a lot of people, because one of the main functions, of course, of the ship in universe is that it can spin around, and that is also in the LEGO set. So they do have the functionality down, they just don't have the coloring down on the other 50% of the T6 shuttle. The other debatable aspect about this T6 shuttle is that light gray color that we mentioned. It is in light gray and dark red, but it's definitely open to interpretation whether or not this set should have been done in white and dark red or light gray and dark red. There are certainly angles and lighting conditions in the show where the set looks white instead of light gray, but there are also certainly angles and lighting conditions where the set looks light gray. So I think light gray here is perfectly acceptable, and really the only reason I even think of it as much of a competition between light gray and white is because the original T6 shuttle was in a white color, so it just makes you think that it maybe should have been white, but realistically light gray is perfectly acceptable here. Overall, for the build of the T6 shuttle, I want to give it like a C or a D because it's missing the second half of the paint job. And personally, I'm perfectly okay with it, but this is about accuracies, so probably should get a C because half of the ship literally doesn't have the paint job it's supposed to. So I'm going to give the ship a C, and overall, between the minifigs and the build, I'm giving it a B. It's a really good set, it just obviously has that issue on the bottom side. So overall, it gets a B for accuracy, and that might be a little bit of me being generous and biased towards how much I like this set for this side. This side ain't pretty. Next up, we have the New Republic E-Wing versus Shin Hades Starfighter. This one includes 5 minifigures, and we'll go through them one by one, of course. For the E-Wing, you get Captain Porter and a New Republic astromech droid, both of which are perfectly accurate to what we see in the show. Porter pilots the E-Wing, and the astromech droid is behind him, although the astromech droid is a bit hard to see in the original scene that the E-Wing shows up. Now, on the other side of things, we have our bad guy, Shin Hades. Love Shin Hades, both in the show and the LEGO representation of the character. I think that's very good. And the same goes for Balin Skull. I really think they did both of these characters justice in LEGO form, getting in a lot of those good little details on them, and they look very good. But the biggest question a lot of people bring up with these characters is they do have red lightsabers in the set, but in the show, the lightsabers definitely have an orange tint to them. And to properly represent what we can see in the show, the LEGO lightsabers should have probably been in more of an orange color. So that's definitely a little knock against the character selection. And then finally, we have Morgan Elsbeth. I think they did a good job with this figure too. There's no big gripes that I or anyone that I've seen really has with it. There's no lightsaber to point out that it's the wrong color or anything. So Morgan Elsbeth is a very good character. And overall, I think these minifigs, much like what we saw in Ahsoka's T6 shuttle, these deserve an A. Now, before we talk about the E-Wing and Shin Hades Starfighter, we got to talk about today's sponsor, Rakuten. Getting cash back on purchases with Rakuten is a no-brainer. I use it every time I buy LEGO online to get the best bang for my buck. And by adding stores like Lego.com to my favorites, I can easily know when my favorite stores have bonus cash back, like this week's Big Stack event, where you'll get 10% cash back at hundreds of stores. You can sign up today with my link in the description, and you'll get a $30 bonus when you make a qualifying purchase. Might I recommend a LEGO Ahsoka set? For the E-Wing build, I see it as a perfect representation of the E-Wing in universe. You've got that printed cockpit, which has ample detail, and it even has the 3-point landing gear system that we see on the bottom of the E-Wing briefly in the show. The blue and white coloring is also a match to what we see in the show. It's just got everything I think you could want out of a build like this for display. It looks perfect to me. So the E-Wing is getting an A+, and I feel like Shin Hades Starfighter may be deserving of the same grade. They really went the extra mile on this one, making it look a little bit more worn than the E-Wing. It has a worn look in the show where you can see raw metal where the paint has worn away, and this is both represented with stickers and some of the brick building design that they have done on the set, and I think it was done really, really well. They've got the cockpit, the yellow stripe, and the red backing on it down to a T. I mean, this is a perfectly accurate Starfighter if you ask me. They've really nailed the look of it. Lastly, I just want to express how much I appreciate the shaping on the very front of the ship. They really did a good job with that to represent it in LEGO from what we see in the Ahsoka shows. Both builds here, as we've seen, are just about perfect. However, the context of them both being in the same set, dueling it out, doesn't really make a lot of sense because Shin Hades Starfighter never takes on an E-Wing in the Ahsoka show. Therefore, I think a better combo set would have been the T6 shuttle and Shin Hades Starfighter, of course, because those actually do fight in the show, and or you could do an E-Wing set with Sabine's speeder. So this combo set, while everything within it is just about perfect, the context of the dogfight it's representing never happened.
It's a total fabrication.
The last set we have to discuss is the biggest of the bunch, and that is the Ghost and Phantom 2. First Officer Hawkins, Lieutenant Beta, and Hera Syndulla are all perfectly good and accurate minifigures. The real question comes into play with Jacen Syndulla. His hair in the show is definitely green. That applies to Star Wars Rebels in his first appearance many years ago, and the Ahsoka show. So it's very questionable how LEGO could have messed up the hair color on this character to give him brown hair. It's of course notable that his father, Kanan, also had a hair issue in a version of the Ghost in 2014 that LEGO did go and fix for accuracy's sake. So LEGO is not above making things accurate just because. So hopefully this will be a case like that, but as it stands, the Jacen Syndulla minifigure is not very accurate because the hair color is just flat wrong. Now, the Chopper figure in this set, I don't like the aesthetic of. But this is about accuracy, and he does have a white torso in the show, and so using white for Chopper here is the good, proper move, it seems. As well as, on top, he does have a very thin little antenna piece or something, and LEGO tries to represent that by putting a tile on top of him. Again, they're going the extra mile to try and make it slightly more accurate. I do appreciate that, although it kind of messes with the aesthetic of the figure. But based on what we see in the Ahsoka show, this Chopper minifigure is very good. And overall, these figures are basically an A for accuracy as well, outside of the hair for Jacen. Now, when it comes to the Ghost and Phantom 2 builds, I think there's one glaring inaccuracy and that is that there's just no boarding ramp on the front of the Ghost like we see in the show. This is something that they weren't able to put in the 2014 model. Again, here in the 2023 model, they were not able to include the boarding ramp on the front of the Ghost. I think that's a big F for accuracy in that particular spot. That's something that in a UCS model maybe we'll see, but LEGO clearly has no intention of including it on a playset model, even at the top of their game with this new Ghost. It's one of the best builds they've ever done. It's still missing one of those like key little accuracy things on the front of the ship. They instead put a couple of boarding ramps on the side of the Ghost, which it's nice that you at least have boarding ramps, but you're still missing the one on the front. The rest of the ship, like the shaping, and then especially on the side of the Ghost with those gray inverted plates, looks really good, very accurate to what we see in the show, both Ahsoka and Rebels, of course. I love that they included the Phantom 2 with this set because I really believe it completes the look of the Ghost. You can see it here in the show with the Phantom 2 on the back, so having the LEGO set include the Phantom 2 on the back just makes it look just as good as it does in the show. And the Phantom 2 is a bit small. It has some wonky proportions, so it in some ways is slightly inaccurate to what we see in the show, but they did their best with the size that they could, and they included nice stickers to add in the proper detail that the build needed. So overall, the Phantom is pretty decent. The Ghost is beyond my wildest expectations of just nearly perfect. It's just really missing that ramp on the front. It even has a lot of great interior details. It, of course, is not a one-to-one minifigure scale Ghost, so it's not going to have all the interior scale details that you might be looking for. My final note on the Ghost is that on the box, it shows Shin Hades Starfighter looming in the background. However, in the show, Shin Hades Starfighter never ends up taking on the Ghost, and therefore that just shouldn't be on the box.
We made this one up.
The Ghost and Phantom 2 set is getting an A for accuracy as well, and that leaves our grades as follows. The T6 Shuttle with a B, the New Republic E-Wing versus Shin Hades Starfighter with an A, and the Ghost with an A. And I think the Ahsoka Wave on the whole should get an A for accuracy as well. LEGO clearly tried very hard to make these sets as close to what we see in the show as they could. The work they put into these and the attention to detail is truly commendable outside of a few small things that can be chopped up to reference material not matching what ended up being in the show, because of course these were all done before the show released to us. If you guys enjoyed this accuracy rating of every LEGO Star Wars Ahsoka set, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you check out today's sponsor, Rakuten, with the link down in the description below to help you get some cash back when you buy LEGO Star Wars Ahsoka sets or anything else you might be interested in buying. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next time I grade LEGO Star Wars sets based on their accuracy to a Disney Plus show, which, given the bleak slate of upcoming shows and like the fact that the Skeleton Crew show will only have one set apparently, like I'm not going to make a whole video grading one set, so it might be a while.